Welcome to Staff Works Explained. If it's your first time here, please subscribe to this channel. Also, watch other videos that we have done on this channel. And in today's video, we'll be talking about Kenya-Ethiopia Sgr. This is a proposed railway line that is supposed to connect Kenya, Lamu Port, to Ethiopia capital of Addis Ababa. The project is part of the LAPSSET. LAPSSET is an acronym for Lamu Port-South Sudan-Ethiopia Transport Corridor, a project that, or a program that aims to create a new trade and transport route between East Africa and the rest of the world. The LAPSSET corridor is one of the largest infrastructure projects in Africa, with an estimated cost of over $25 billion. The Kenya-Ethiopia Sgr is a key component of this program and would provide a vital link between the two countries and also South Sudan. Other projects along the same route include a highway which will run from all the way from Lamu, pass through Isiolo. One branches to Ethiopia, and the other heads to South Sudan, Juba. The Kenya-Ethiopia Sgr is still in the early planning stages, but it is expected to be completed by 2030. The project is being funded by a consortium of international investors, and they may include the government of Kenya and Ethiopia and also other financiers from various aspects. The Kenya-Ethiopia Sgr is expected to have a significant impact on the economies of both countries. It will reduce the cost of transportation, both goods and people, between the two countries, and it's expected to boost trade and investment. The railway line would also create jobs during the construction and also during the operation period. In addition to the economic benefits, the Sgr would have social benefits also. It would improve access to education, healthcare for people living in the remote areas. It would also promote cultural exchange and understanding between the two countries. Work on LAPSSET, which stands for Lamu Port-South Sudan-Ethiopia Transport Corridor, is expected to begin in 2025. The railway line will be approximately 3,000 kilometers long, and it will be built to the Sgr specification, which will allow faster and more convenient transport for goods and people. The plan is to build high-speed electric railway from Lamu to the town of Isiolo, about 200 kilometers northeast of Nairobi. The line will be split into three. One goes to Nairobi to join with the Sgr that has been built from Mombasa. The other branches to Addis Ababa, and the other one to the South Sudanese capital of Juba. The project is expected to cost $13.8 billion US, and this greatly exceeds in Kenya scales other major rail schemes, such as the railway that was built which has already been built between Mombasa and Suswa, which has cost around 500 billion. LAPSSET authority say that the project had an expected internal rate of return IRR greater than 12%, suggesting high confidence in its viability. The statement from the LAPSSET suggesting that the Sgr project has an expected IRR of greater than 12% indicates a higher level of confidence in the project's economic viability. An IRR greater than 12 is generally considered attractive for infrastructure projects. It suggests that the project is expected to generate sufficient cash flows to cover its costs and also provide a reasonable return on investment. This high IRR, internal rate of return, indicates that the project is likely to be financially viable. An IRR above the threshold of 12% means that the project is expected to generate returns that exceed the cost of capital or the minimum acceptable rate of return. In other words, the project is expected to be profitable or viable, that is. Higher IRR can attract investors, including both private and private sector. It indicates that the project has the potential to generate competitive returns on the invested capital, making it appealing for financing. The SGR project with high IRR is likely to bring significant economic benefits to the region, including improved transportation connectivity, enhanced trade, job creation, and potentially increased foreign investment. When government authorities or agencies such as LAPSSET express high confidence in a project economic viability, it can help instill confidence in potential investors and stakeholders, further facilitating project financing and implementation, which are important component in a project of this nature. While a high IRR is a positive sign, it will be essential to consider other associated risks. Projects with a high or higher expected returns often come with higher risks, such as construction delays, cost overruns, or market uncertainties. A comprehensive risk assessment should be conducted to ensure that the expected returns are achieved. It is worth noting that the actual IRR achieved by the project may vary depending on factors such as project execution, economic conditions, and also market demand. Continuous monitoring and adaptation to changing circumstances will be essential for this project, for it to remain financially sustainable and also deliver the expected returns. Although this suggestion was not reached out of a full feasibility study, it shows that the project probably might be viable, and probably it will not have a hard time attracting investors. In terms of feasibility studies, despite the projected IRR, the two countries will need to conduct feasibility studies to assess the technical and economic viability of this project. This will involve determining the best route for the railway line, as well as estimating the cost and benefits of the project. Some of these has already been done. Kenya has identified the route, and it has been narrowed down from 500 meters. Been narrowed down to the area that where this railway will be constructed. Kenya is currently seeking $9 million for this from African Union for the purpose of financing this feasibility study. In terms of funding, the two countries are going for joint funding. The project will be expensive, so the two countries will need to secure financing for the project. This would involve a combination of private and public investment. Kenyan Transport Minister said that he would work with Ethiopia to seek joint funding for the project. The Kenya-Ethiopia Sgr is expected to be completed by 2030 if all goes well. Once it is completed, to be a major boost for trade between the two countries, and to also make it easier for people to travel between the two countries. Kenya is eyeing the Ethiopian market as a key opportunity for its growth. Ethiopia is the second most populous country in Africa, with over 112 million people. It is also one of the fastest growing economies in the world, with a GDP growth of 8%. Kenya is already a major trading partner with Ethiopia. In 2022, bilateral trade between the two countries amounted to over $1 billion. However, Kenya believes that there is still a lot of potential for growth. There are a number of factors that are driving Kenya's interest in the Ethiopian market. First, the two countries share a long border and have close cultural ties. This makes it easier for Kenyan business to operate in Ethiopia. Second, the Ethiopian government is implementing a number of reforms to liberalize its economy and also attract foreign investment. These reforms are creating a new opportunity for Kenyan business to expand in Ethiopia. Third, the Ethiopian market is growing rapidly, and there is a strong demand for Kenyan goods and services. Kenyan businesses are well positioned to meet this demand given their experience in operating in other markets. A number of Kenyan companies are already operating in Ethiopia. We have Safaricom, which has recently ventured into that market. We have Equity Bank. We have KCB Bank, among others. These companies are pioneers in the Ethiopian market and are helping pave way for the other Kenyan business to enter in this country. The Kenya government is also supporting Kenya businesses to expand into Ethiopia. It has established a number of trade and investment initiatives such as Kenya-Ethiopia Joint Business Council. With this SGR project, the two countries are positioning to capitalize on the opportunities in the Ethiopian and Kenyan market. The project is likely to face some challenges. It's a complex and a very ambitious project, and there are a number of challenges that it's likely to face in its actualization. Some of them include, we have funding. The project, as you have seen, is expected to cost over $13 billion, and securing such funds is a major challenge given that the two countries are already heavily indebted. The two governments will need to work together to attract both private and public investment. There are a number of ways that the two governments can secure funding for the project. One option is to borrow money from international lenders such as World Bank or other Chinese bank or even African Development Bank. Another option is to raise money through the public-private partnership. In this arrangement, the government would work with private companies to finance and operate the railway line. The two governments are also exploring the possibility of using innovative financing mechanisms such as green bonds or infrastructure bonds. Green bonds are bonds that are issued to finance projects that have a positive environmental impact. Infrastructure bonds are bonds that are raised to finance infrastructure projects. Another challenge is when it comes to construction, this project is technically complex and will require high level of expertise. The two governments will need to ensure that they have the necessary resources and capacity to complete the project on time and even in budget. On security, the project will pass through some areas that are prone to insecurity. The two governments will need to work together to ensure the safety of construction workers and also protect the railway from terror attacks. On community engagement, the project is expected to have impact on local communities along the route that it will pass. It is important that the two governments work with these communities to ensure that they benefit from the project. If it's compensation, they should be compensated adequately, and this will ensure that the project runs smoothly. They could involve providing jobs and training, as well as investing in social infrastructure such as schools and hospitals. There is the big question of environmental impact when such kind of a project is being done. The project will have an impact on the environment, and it's important that the two governments take steps to minimize the impact. This could involve planting trees, restoring wetlands, and reducing pollution, among other measures that are meant to reduce environmental impact. In addition to these challenges, the Kenya-Ethiopia Sgr is also likely to face some political challenges. The two countries have a complex relationship. There is a history of mistrust between them. It is important that these governments work together to build trust and this to ensure that the project is implemented in a transparent and accountable manner. Despite these challenges, the Kenya-Ethiopia Sgr is a project that has great potential to transform the economies and societies of both countries. It is important that the two governments, Ethiopia and Kenya, to work together to overcome the challenges, and also that, mainly to ensure that the project is successful. So we'll be watching to see whether this project will come soon, or when it will be actualized, because it's the project that involves a huge budget and it involves a lot of complexity. So we'll be watching to see what transpires as far as this ambitious project is concerned. So thank you for coming this far. If it's your first time here, please subscribe to this channel. You can watch other videos that you have done on other SGRs in Africa, and you can give us a comment or leave a comment about your thoughts about this project. So thank you.